Welcome to Senior Relationship After 60. Here's something most older men never realize. Younger women are paying far closer attention to you than you think. Not to the wrinkles or the gray hair, but to the small details you might overlook every single day. Did you know that some of the very habits you dismiss as ordinary are the exact things that younger women quietly admire? Things you may think make you too old actually make you unforgettable in ways younger men can't compete with. Now let me ask you this. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and thought, do I really stand out anymore? If you've ever felt invisible, you're not alone. But here's the twist. Younger women often notice traits in older men that those men don't even see in themselves. And once you understand what those traits are, you'll start to realize you're not fading into the background, you're just beginning to stand out in a completely different way. But before we go deeper into this eye-opening truth, let's pause for a second. If this is already striking a chord with you, don't just hit that new like button right now. It may sound simple, but it's actually YouTube's way of letting seniors' voices rise to the top. And every single like helps push this message so more people over 60 can finally hear what they've been waiting for. So go ahead and press it, because this conversation is bigger than just one man's story. It's about rewriting what it really means to be admired after 60. Stick with me until the end of this video, because you're about to hear 9 things younger women notice about older men. Things that may completely change the way you see yourself. And trust me, number 7 will leave you speechless, because it's the one almost no older man ever suspects. Chapter 1. The confidence in slowing down. Here's the first thing younger women quietly notice about older men, and it might surprise you. It's the confidence that comes from slowing down. Now, I don't mean being slow in the physical sense. I'm talking about the calm, unhurried way you move through life after decades of experiences, lessons, and challenges. Younger women pick up on this instantly, because it's so different from what they often see in men their own age. Think about it. Younger men are usually in a rush. Rushing through conversations, rushing through dates, rushing through life as if it's all a race to the next milestone. But an older man, he's learned that life isn't about speed. It's about depth. And when you walk into a room without needing to prove yourself, when you sit at a table and actually take a breath before speaking, that calm presence speaks louder than any flashy clothes or smooth lines ever could. Younger women notice this because it creates a sense of stability. They see a man who isn't panicked by silence, who isn't desperate to fill every moment with noise, who can just be. That's rare. And it's powerful. It tells them you're not competing with anyone. You're standing in your own lane, comfortable in your own skin. Take this as a reminder. Slowing down doesn't mean stepping back from life. It means stepping into it more fully. When you take time to enjoy a walk instead of rushing from point A to point B. When you sip your coffee instead of gulping it down. When you actually pause to listen instead of thinking about your response, you're showing a kind of confidence that's magnetic. Younger women sense that energy immediately, even if they can't always put it into words. And here's the emotional truth. What they're feeling is safety. That unhurried confidence tells them, this man has lived. He's not easily shaken. He knows who he is. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. And many women find that incredibly grounding, especially in a world where everything feels like it's moving at lightning speed. So here's a challenge for you. The next time you're in conversation, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it breathe. Watch how people lean in, because your calm confidence makes them curious. And ask yourself this: when was the last time you allowed your wisdom to show in the way you carried yourself, not just in the words you said? Tell me in the comments. Have you ever had someone notice your calm presence even when you weren't trying? I'd love to hear your story. Chapter 2. The way he listens without rushing. Here's the second thing younger women often notice about older men, and it has nothing to do with looks, money, or status. It's the way you listen. Not the surface-level listening that's just waiting for a chance to respond, but genuine listening, the kind that makes another person feel seen and understood. That simple act is more powerful than most men realize. Let me introduce you to Mr. Ephraim. He's 67, divorced, and he works part-time at a local community center in Ohio. One afternoon, during a casual conversation, a younger coworker said something that stopped him in his tracks. She looked at him and said, "You make me feel heard in a way guys my age never do." Ephraim laughed at first, thinking she was joking, but she wasn't. She explained that most men her age were glued to their phones, interrupting, or mentally preparing their own reply before she even finished her sentence. But with Ephraim, she felt like her words had weight, like her thoughts weren't just noise in the background. That moment stayed with him because he realized something. Listening wasn't just polite, it was magnetic. And this is where older men have an advantage. Decades of conversations, relationships, mistakes, and life lessons teach you that listening isn't about waiting for your turn. It's about slowing down enough to give someone the gift of your full presence. Younger women notice when an older man does this. They notice the eye contact, the small nods that say, "I hear you," the pauses that don't rush them forward. These subtle actions create a space where they feel safe to open up. And in today's world, where everyone is multitasking and attention spans are shrinking, that kind of focus is rare, almost priceless. Here's the emotional truth. When you truly listen, you're saying without words, "What you have to say matters to me." And for many younger women, that's not just attractive, it's healing. Because it contrasts so sharply with the distraction and hurry they often face in their daily lives. So practice intentional listening. The next time someone speaks to you, whether it's a coworker, a neighbor, or even a stranger, set aside the mental checklist, put the phone down, and focus fully on them. You don't need clever replies or rehearsed stories. Just the act of being present is enough to leave a lasting impression. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone thank you just for listening, really listening? Share your experience in the comments, because your story might remind another man just how powerful this skill can be. Chapter 3. The unexpected humor. Now let's move to the third thing younger women notice about older men, and this one often catches them completely off guard. It's the unexpected humor that comes from decades of living, observing, and surviving life's ups and downs. Not the kind of humor built on trending memes or TikTok dances, but the humor of real experience, the kind that blends irony, wit, and just a touch of nostalgia. Think about it. Humor changes with age. In your 20s, it's about proving you're clever. In your 30s, it's about keeping up with what's popular. But once you've lived past 60, humor evolves into something richer. It's not about being the loudest laugh in the room. It's about timing, perspective, and the ability to see life's absurdities for what they really are. Younger women often find themselves drawn to this because it feels refreshing. It's humor that doesn't try too hard. It's natural, and it sneaks up on them in the best way. Here's the secret. Your humor comes wrapped in wisdom. Maybe it's the way you can laugh at yourself without shame. Maybe it's a story about the first time you got lost driving without GPS, or how you still remember phones with cords and party lines. For younger women, these references aren't just funny, they're fascinating. They may not have lived through that time, but the humor becomes a bridge. They're laughing with you while also catching a glimpse of a world they never knew. Take Ephraim, our friend from earlier. One day, a younger neighbor asked him why he still carried cash. With a perfectly straight face, he replied, "Because my wallet doesn't need Wi-Fi." The neighbor laughed so hard she told her friends, and soon Ephraim realized his humor wasn't outdated. It was refreshing. Younger women appreciate humor that isn't trying to be trendy but comes from a different angle, one they rarely hear from men their own age. Here's the emotional spark. Humor rooted in life experience makes people feel at ease. It tells them you've seen enough to know not to take everything so seriously. That relaxed humor is comforting, especially in a world where everyone seems stressed and rushed. It's not clownish, and it's not forced, it's authentic. So here's a piece of actionable advice. Don't hide your humor. Share those funny stories, those ironic observations, and those quick one-liners that come from living a full life. Even small, self-deprecating remarks, like joking about misplacing your glasses when they're right on your head, show you're comfortable in your skin. And confidence paired with humor. That's unforgettable. Now let me ask you. Have you ever told a story from your past that made someone younger laugh harder than you expected? Drop it in the comments. You might be surprised how many people relate to the humor of your journey. Chapter 4. The subtle way they value real connection. Here's the fourth thing younger women notice about older men, and it often leaves a lasting impression. It's the subtle way older men value real connection. In a world where conversations are often reduced to emojis, quick texts, and shallow exchanges, the ability to engage in meaningful dialogue feels rare, almost like a lost art. And this is where older men have a quiet but undeniable edge. You see, after 60, conversations aren't just filler. They're not about proving who's the smartest in the room or trading fast one-liners. They're about curiosity, sincerity, and shared humanity. Younger women notice when an older man asks thoughtful questions, waits for real answers, and follows up in ways that show he was actually listening. It might seem like second nature to you, but to many women, that depth stands out instantly. Think of it like this. While others might ask, "How was your day?" Just out of habit, you're the one who notices the small details and asks, "You mentioned last week that you were nervous about your presentation. How did it go?" That small act communicates something powerful. I see you. I remember what matters to you. That's the kind of connection younger women don't forget, because it tells them they're more than just background noise. Take Ephraim again. He was having coffee with a younger colleague when she mentioned she was worried about her mother's health. A week later, without prompting, he asked her how her mom was doing. She was stunned, she told him. "Most people forget what I say 5 minutes later, but you remembered something important to me." That moment didn't just make Ephraim stand out as kind, it made him stand out as different. Here's the emotional truth. Younger women often crave depth in their interactions, but they rarely find it among peers who are distracted by screens, deadlines, or shallow small talk. When an older man brings patience, curiosity, and presence into the conversation, it feels like a breath of fresh air. It tells them, this is a man who isn't afraid of silence, who isn't afraid of honesty, who values substance over show. So next time you're in a conversation, try steering it away from the weather or surface-level chatter. Ask about what lights someone up. Ask about what challenges they're facing. And then truly listen, not just to reply but to understand. That one shift can make your interactions unforgettable. Have you ever found someone surprised by how much depth you bring to a conversation? Tell us in the comments. Your story might be exactly what another man needs to hear to realize the power of valuing real connection. Chapter 5. The silent signals of experience. Here's the fifth thing younger women notice about older men, and it has nothing to do with looks, money, or charm. It's the silent signals of experience. These aren't flashy or dramatic. They're the small, almost invisible gestures that reveal decades of living, learning, and becoming. And while you might overlook them yourself, younger women often catch them instantly. Think about the way you move through ordinary moments. The patience you show in traffic when someone cuts you off and you simply breathe instead of honking. The steady hands that don't fumble nervously with keys or phones but move with intention. The kindness you offer to a waitress when the food comes out wrong, not blaming her but showing empathy. These may seem like little things, but to someone watching, they're powerful signals. They communicate strength, steadiness, and maturity. Qualities that stand out in a world where tempers flare quickly and people often act without thinking. Here's why it matters. Younger women are used to seeing younger men overreact, rush, or fidget when things don't go their way. But when they encounter an older man who handles life with calm grace, it feels different, feels reassuring. It says, this is a man who's weathered storms, and he's not shaken by small waves. That kind of stability is magnetic because it makes people feel safe and understood without a single word being spoken. Let's return to Ephraim for a moment. One afternoon, he was standing in line at the grocery store when the cashier, clearly flustered, dropped some coins. Instead of sighing or tapping his foot like the man behind him, Ephraim bent down, picked up the change, and said with a smile, "We've all had days like this." The young woman at the register laughed with relief, and later a customer behind him commented, "I wish more people reacted like that." Ephraim didn't realize it, but that small gesture had left a lasting impression. These are the silent lessons your life has already taught you. Patience, empathy, perspective. You don't need to announce them. They show themselves in how you treat others, how you handle setbacks, and how you carry yourself in everyday life. Younger women notice these details even when you don't, and often, it's these quiet qualities that make the biggest impact. So don't underestimate the power of your small actions. Every gesture, every pause, every moment of calm under pressure is a reflection of the wisdom you've gained over time. Younger women sense that depth, and it separates you from the noise of impatience and immaturity around them. Now think about this. When was the last time someone complimented you, not on what you said, but on how you carried yourself? Share that moment in the comments. You may inspire another man to realize his silent signals are already speaking louder than words. Chapter 6. The Security of Stability. Here's the sixth thing younger women notice about older men, and it's something many men don't give themselves enough credit for. It's the quiet security of stability. In a culture obsessed with chasing the latest trends, reinventing yourself every 6 months, and constantly trying to prove your worth, stability stands out like a lighthouse in the storm. And younger women often find it not boring but refreshing, sometimes even adventurous, when it's paired with wisdom. Let's be clear. Stability doesn't mean stagnation. It doesn't mean you've stopped growing or lost your spark. It means you know who you are, what you value, and how to live without being tossed around by every passing fad. While younger men might be scrambling to show off the newest phone, the flashiest clothes, or the wildest weekend plans, older men often exude a calm steadiness. That steadiness says, "I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm living a life I've built, and I'm proud of it." Younger women notice the comfort in that. They notice that you have routines, that you're not afraid of structure, that your world doesn't collapse if plans change. And here's the twist. What some might call predictable, others call dependable. For many younger women, that's a kind of adventure they rarely experience. The adventure of feeling safe enough to relax and be themselves. Ephraim is a great example. A younger neighbor once teased him for sticking to his Saturday morning ritual of coffee at the same diner. She joked, "Don't you get bored doing the same thing every week?" Ephraim smiled and replied, "Not at all. The joy is that I never know who I'll meet or what conversation I'll have while I'm there." What she saw as routine, he saw as an anchor that still left space for surprise. And that perspective fascinated her. Here's the emotional truth. Stability is not the absence of excitement. It's the foundation that makes genuine excitement possible. When you don't have to waste energy proving yourself, you have more space for laughter, curiosity, and connection. Younger women often crave that sense of balance, especially in a world where unpredictability can feel overwhelming. So don't downplay your routines or your steady way of living. Share them with pride. Show how your habits give you energy, clarity, and peace of mind. Let your stability be seen as the strength it truly is, not something to hide. And stick with me because the next thing might surprise you. It's the one most older men never suspect, and yet it's often the very quality that leaves the deepest impression. Chapter 7. The Spark of Curiosity They Still Have. Here's the seventh thing younger women notice about older men, and it's one that instantly makes you stand out. It's the spark of curiosity you still carry. Now, curiosity might not be the first trait that comes to mind when you think about attraction after 60, but believe me, it's one of the most magnetic. Because curiosity makes you timeless. You see, a lot of people assume getting older means closing yourself off, sticking only to what you know, refusing to adapt, and living entirely in the past. But when a younger woman meets an older man who still has that spark of curiosity, who's willing to explore, learn, and even laugh at himself while figuring something new out, it's unforgettable. It shows you haven't let the years harden you. You've allowed them to soften you toward life's endless possibilities. Let's take Ephraim again. His granddaughter recently introduced him to Instagram Reels. At first, he rolled his eyes thinking, "This is for kids." But he gave it a shot. Soon he was learning how to post short clips about his woodworking projects. And one of them unexpectedly went a little viral in his community. A younger woman who followed him told him, "I love how you're not afraid to try new things. Most men your age wouldn't even touch this app." That simple moment showed her something powerful. Ephraim wasn't stuck in time. He was living fully in the present. Here's the emotional truth. Curiosity doesn't erase your years, but it does erase the walls people expect you to have. It makes conversations with you exciting, because they're not just filled with stories of the past, but questions about the future. Whether it's trying a new restaurant, exploring a city you've never visited, or asking someone to explain what all the buzz is about with AI or electric cars, curiosity keeps you engaged, and it shows you still see life as worth discovering. Younger women notice when an older man asks thoughtful questions instead of shutting things down. They notice when you're open to tasting the sushi you've never tried, or when you lean in to watch a TikTok video instead of dismissing it. These little sparks tell them you haven't lost your sense of wonder, and that is deeply attractive. So embrace your curiosity. Don't shy away from new experiences because they seem out of your comfort zone. Whether it's learning a piece of technology, picking up a new hobby, or even exploring music outside your era, lean into it. Because curiosity doesn't just make you relevant, it makes you magnetic. Now let me ask you, what's the last new thing you tried that surprised even you? Share it in the comments. You never know. Your story might inspire another man to keep that spark alive. Chapter 8. The Strength in Emotional Vulnerability. Here's the 8th thing younger women notice about older men, and it's one of the most misunderstood. It's the strength that comes from emotional vulnerability. Now, this may feel counterintuitive, especially for men who grew up in an era where emotions were tucked away, where showing tears or talking about personal struggles was seen as weakness. But here's the truth, times have changed. Post-2023, emotional openness has become not only respected, but deeply valued, especially by younger generations. And younger women in particular often find it breathtaking when an older man can share his emotions without ego. Think about it. For decades, many men were told to tough it out, to stay silent in their struggles, to never show cracks in their armor. But when a younger woman encounters an older man who can sit down and say, "I lost someone dear, and it changed the way I see love," or "I made mistakes in my marriage, but here's what I learned from them," it lands with a depth that's rare in today's world of quick, surface-level connections. It doesn't make you appear broken, it makes you appear real. And in an age where authenticity is everything, that's incredibly powerful. Take Ephraim again. In a recent conversation with a much younger colleague, he admitted how lonely his first holiday season after divorce had been. He didn't dress it up. He didn't try to play it off as nothing. He just said, "It was one of the hardest times of my life, but it taught me to cherish the moments I have now." His colleague later confessed, "I've never heard a man speak that honestly about pain. It made me trust you instantly." That's the kind of quiet strength vulnerability carries. It builds bridges where pride used to build walls. And let's be clear, vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing every detail of your private life. It means letting people see the human side of you, the lessons carved into you by time, the joys that lit you up, the heartbreaks that humbled you, and the wisdom that came from both. Younger women don't just notice this. They respect it because it's so rare to find in men their own age, who are still often performing strength instead of embodying it. Don't hide behind silence when you could offer connection. Share a piece of your story, the real one, not the polished one. Because when you do, you're not just showing your past, you're showing your courage to be fully human. And that's a strength no wrinkle, no gray hair, and no birthday candle can ever diminish. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever opened up about something real and been surprised by how positively people responded? Share it in the comments, Because your story might remind another man that vulnerability isn't weakness at all. It's one of the greatest strengths he carries. Chapter 9. The Way Age Turns into Legacy. Here's the ninth and final thing younger women notice about older men. And it's the one that ties everything together. It's the way age transforms into legacy. See, after 6, 7, even 8 decades of living, your stories aren't just stories anymore, they're living history. And when you share them, they carry weight, depth, and perspective that no 20-something could ever replicate. Younger women don't just see an older man as someone with gray hair. They see someone who embodies experiences that stretch across eras. To them, you're a bridge between past and present, and that's magnetic in ways you may never have realized. Think about it. When you tell a younger woman about what it was like to buy your first home with a handshake deal, or how music sounded when you dropped a vinyl needle in the 70s, or even what family dinners felt like before smartphones sat at the table, those aren't just memories. They're windows into a world she never lived but longs to feel connected to. Younger women are often fascinated by this sense of continuity, because in a fast-paced, disposable culture, legacy feels grounding, feels safe, feels like something worth holding on to. Let's bring it back to Ephraim. For years, he thought his age was a burden, that his gray hair and lined face made him invisible. But over time, he began to notice something different. His younger coworker would lean in when he told stories about his first road trip across America. His granddaughter's friend once said, "I could listen to you talk about history for hours. It makes me feel like I was there." One day, after a long conversation, a younger woman finally said to him, "You don't even realize it, but you're living proof that wisdom ages well." That's when it hit him. What he thought made him too old was actually the very thing that made him magnetic. And here's the emotional truth for you. Legacy isn't about being famous, or leaving behind a book, or having a building with your name on it. Legacy is about the impact you make in conversations, in relationships, and in the way your lived experiences ripple into someone else's life. Younger women notice when an older man doesn't just carry the past but offers it like a gift. That's when admiration turns into connection. So stop underestimating the years behind you. Every wrinkle carries a story. Every scar is a lesson. Every laugh line is proof you chose joy even when life was heavy. Younger women don't see those years as baggage. They see them as a map, and when you let them read it, you become unforgettable. Now I'll leave you with this. What's one story from your life that you've noticed younger people always lean into when you share it? Drop it in the comments below. Because when you share your legacy, you're not just telling your story. You're reminding the world that the beauty of age is the power to inspire. So let's bring everything full circle. Think about what we've uncovered together. The very things you may have believed made you invisible. The gray hair, the slower pace, the quiet moments, the lines carved into your face, are in reality the exact qualities that younger women notice and admire most. What you once thought were signs of fading have actually become signals of strength, depth, and attraction. It's easy to buy into the myth that aging makes you less visible, less relevant, less wanted. But the truth is, your years are not a burden. They're your secret advantage. They've given you a calm confidence that doesn't need to shout. They've shaped a kind of humor rooted in lived experience that no meme could ever replicate. They've given you the wisdom to value connection over noise, patience over rush, and substance over show. And younger women, whether they admit it out loud or not, see that. They feel it. They respond to it. Look at Ephraim's journey one last time. He thought divorce and age had pushed him into the background. But through small moments, listening with intention, laughing with stories that reached across generations, daring to stay curious, and being open about his struggles, he discovered something extraordinary. Younger women weren't overlooking him. They were noticing the things he overlooked about himself. His years weren't a curtain closing. They were a spotlight shifting, illuminating qualities that had been there all along. And that's your story too. I want you to hold on to as you close this video. You are not past your prime. In fact, the very traits that only come with age, The scars, the wisdom, the gentleness, the curiosity, those are your prime. They are what set you apart in a world full of noise and temporary trends. When you embrace them instead of hiding them, you unlock a presence that is unforgettable. If this opened your eyes, then here's what I need you to do right now. Don't just hit that like button. It may sound small, but every single like tells YouTube this is content worth sharing, and it helps more people over 60 realize the same truth you just heard. Share this video with a friend who needs to hear it, because chances are someone you know is still doubting their worth. And don't forget to subscribe, because your story isn't ending at 60. It's not slowing down at 70. It's not even settling at 80. Your story is just beginning, and the next chapter might be the most inspiring one yet.